Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the 3200, man. We've got a great show for you today. Man, we want you to sit in, join in, and we're going to have some good discussion today with a special guest, Mr. Jor-El Lamar. So, what I want you to do, go ahead, hit that like, subscribe, and share button, and we'll be right back after this.
Hey, the 3200, you know how we connect. 3200 Magnolia was the address. Beaumont, Texas, had to do it like that. Wanna welcome everybody to the podcast. Plenty stories that we gotta explore. From the views of husbands, fathers, entrepreneurs, baby fathers, and workers. I know this though for certain. You gon' laugh, have a good time till your side hurting. 3200, but you already know this. Couple of brothers hard working and focused. Intellectual, entertaining for show. 32 double O, let's go. 3200, but you already know this. Couple of brothers hard working and focused. Intellectual, entertaining for show. 32 double O, let's go. Hey, yeah, make sure that you turn it up. Get the talking, ain't no topic that we do not discuss. Yeah, everything and nothing at the same time. Good vibes, tune in, cause you know it's going down. 3200.
We live,
All
baby.
right. We live. Welcome back to the show, man. Welcome back, 3200 podcast. Once again, man, if you hadn't already, go ahead, make sure you smash that like button and hit that subscribe and share. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that notify button so you know when we're all on the show. Man, hey, what's up? Charlotte's already with us today, man. What's going on, Charlotte? Hey, real quick, man, we want to thank everybody who helped make donations and helped us out with our back to school bash that we did last week, incorporated with Kickback Podcast and Shea Bay Bay Restaurant. Man, we fed close to about 200 kids and also had backpacks and school supplies for for about 200 kids. I think another 75 donations came in later on. So a lot of kids going out there, man. It's all about the kids and it's all about us giving back to the community and you helping us give back to the community. So once again, thanks everybody for participating in that. Now, welcome back to the show. I'm Ike, man. I got my brother KD in. Jonathan.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I want to give a huge shout out to our brother Leo. Right now, he is accepting his award for being one of the members of the Wizard of Oz. He played the 59th Midget, so we want to make sure we send a shout out to him. He gonna get me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, he's gonna get you there. Jonathan should be in here shortly, man. But today, man, we've got a special guest with us, man, all the way from Columbus, Ohio. They said OH.
They almost just as arrogant as we is in Ohio, man.
Oh yeah. So we got Mr. Jor-El Lamar with us today, man. He's gonna be telling us a little bit about his life and his struggles, man. Welcome to the show, Mr. Jor-El.
Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah. So, man, we're gonna jump right into it, man. If you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and we'll just go through.
Kind of start from the beginning. November this year, I'll have 10 years of being released from doing a 14-year, incarceration bid. During that time, I realized that I had a lot of issues within me that I had to work on. So, I got tired of it. Eventually, I just woke up and decided to address these issues and get some answers and try to, change the sale of my vote. So, went through what I went through and got through it. And my whole thing is like, if I can do it, anybody else can do it. It's just about being tired, because change don't come to you tired. Being put in negative situations or bringing negative energy your way. So I did a lot of self-healing, self-questioning, soul-searching, shadow works, and all those little necessary things to figure out what I needed to figure out within me. I have an 8-year-old daughter who I've had since 2016, and it'll be me and her. I'm a barber in Columbus, so I try to keep my life as simple as possible. I'm in the community as much as possible, or when requested.
What's up?
That's about it. I believe that it takes a village, and I'm a part of the village. That's my concept.
Yeah, so how many kids do you have?
I have 6. I left 5 of them when I did the 14 years, and I came home my first summer. I ended up, getting back with one of the mothers of my children, and we had our final child.
Right. So, just from your perspective as a father, going through what you've gone through, whether good, bad, or indifferent, how do your kids have they communicated to you how they felt about that, or if it's made an impact on them?
It was extremely rocky because I left when I had 3. One was 6, 4, and 2, and I didn't know about my 4th child, and then I had got out because I did like 18 months. I did 18 months in '96, got out for 8 months, and then ended up catching a 14-year bid. I was doing robberies. I was in the dope gang. My role was a stick-up kid. I was a stick-up kid. So when I became a stick-up kid, I caught a case and did 14 years. And at that time, my oldest was 6. Then I had a 2-year-old, and I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old and another 2-year-old. So before I caught that case, one of my baby moms ended up getting pregnant, and I 14 years later, she's 14. So it was really rocky. I talked to my oldest son. We spoke about it, and he was like, he's in the streets, so he understood the whole got to get it out the mud concept. Where the other ones that wouldn't, I went through the whole you owe me situation. You've been gone, so therefore you owe me, and me feeling like I gotta help them any type of way, no matter what, even though I know I'm being used still. But it was rocky, and to this day, I'm in associates with maybe 2 of them, 2 grown ones. They're like 30, 28, 26, and 26 and 21. So we really it kind of things that either make you or break you. And me being away, they was raised by their mamas. Their mamas had different feelings about me. Most of them were negative. So, they kind of sided with their mom. So it hurt us. It broke us. Let's just put it that way. It broke us for at this moment.
Do you think that it's a irreversible situation, or is just time will heal the situation?
Time heals all wounds. And before you can begin to heal, you have to forget. And there's just too much that can't be forgiven on my side of the fence and on their side of the fence. So, it's different scenarios. I'm not going to get all into that. But as a man, we have respect boundaries. No matter what, you're going to respect me because I hit the bricks looking for y'all. I know, don't treat me like I didn't care about you. Like, the fathers who deserve that type of energy that a child might give them because they ain't been there. I hit the streets. I went straight for my kids, and I did everything I could for them, no matter what. But we got our boundaries, and if you cross our boundaries, then I love you, but I'm gonna have to love you far from I'm gonna have to love you far, far away.
All right. So, most of our listeners are wanting to become more familiar with your story. So, I want you to walk us through um, that moment when the police and you got involved. Not the lifestyle, right? Because most of the name of our podcast is the 3200, and it's from Magnolia, which is one of the rawest places in the city we're from.
Right.
But the lifestyle, aside from the lifestyle, like walk us through what you were doing, what you were thinking when the police finally, that incident that occurred that got you to, land you the 14 years.
There were no thoughts. Like, I was in a deep, dark hole that was formed from childhood when I found out that, the man who I thought was my father for over a decade, my first 12 years wasn't my father, through a dispute between 2 grown-ups. I got pulled into it, and the information came out. So, I went through a depression. I felt isolated. I really didn't want to be here. I started experience my depression went as deep as not wanting to be here. I wouldn't kill myself, but I just didn't want to be here. As I got older, this is when I'm 12, 14. As I got older, I wasn't a juvenile delinquent or bad kid or anything like that. I just didn't know how to handle situations, and the situation handled me. So, I decided to just really not care. I gave up mentally. Hurt people, so I went through that. So, when I got into the lifestyle, I didn't think, I didn't care. I just reacted, and it got me shot up. And I still didn't care. Even when we went to court, I just had this I don't care attitude because
So
I was
talk.
young.
So
I ended, huh?
let's talk about the incident when you say you were shot up. Like, take us to that day, that moment.
So that whole fall of 2000 of 1996, 98, that whole fall from September to December, I was wilding out. I was deep. I was getting deep in the game, and each lick would be deeper. So this particular time, I was being sent to rob a dope dealer, and the dope dealer, he was supposed to be affiliated with a police officer. That's what the street says. So I kicked him when I'm in. This is crazy. So when I'm in the car getting prepared, I had a 9mm and a Ruger 22. So I take the Ruger, pull the clip out, and I'm telling this for a reason. There's 6 bullets in the clip. Put it back in. Put one in the head. Lay it down. I get the 9, and there's 4 bullets. Put it in, and I was told by the guy who set it all up that it was a new 9, so it might be hair trick. So when I put one in the head and let it go, it discharged. So I went in the house, alarm went off, dog. I did not care. I was on my 50 Cent before 50 Cent was talking about die or get rich trying. So, ignored all the signs that normally would have told me to abort, went in. As soon as I turned the light on, I hear a gunshot. So I automatically look at my left hand because that's where the 9 is. And the bullet grazed my nose because I have a little scar, a kilo scar under my nose. So by looking that way, it grazed. So as I'm looking up, I hear another gunshot and it hits me in my chin and goes out of my neck, goes into my chin and comes out and hits into my neck. So I took fire, go to the hospital, get out of there. I took cover, and there's a couch behind me, so I couldn't move. And the bullets I'm in a hallway side, and a bullet grazed me. As soon as the bullet stopped, I let off and ran out the house, got in the car. But let them tell it. I kicked the door in and start shooting, and that's what made me get they stick the attempted murder on me. So I didn't care when they came to see me after surgery. The detectives, I told them some story, and they told me what they knew, and was like, "We're gonna match the DNA from the scenes of the crime." They took my clothes from the hospital, and they's like, "Next time we come in, we ain't asking no questions." I just told them, "Do what you do." Next thing I knew, they came back, and the rest, the process begun.
And so you went from the hospital to 14 years.
Pretty much.
Um,
Actually, they let me. I slid out. I got up out of there, and they got me out my house.
So my question was, like was that you said like your relationship when you found out about the guy who you thought was your father, and you found out he wasn't your father, was that like your turning point? Because when you got arrested, that wasn't the first crime, right? You had started younger, correct?
No, I didn't start crime until I was like 18.
18. Okay.
Yeah.
So what led to you there? What made you go into that? What was the turning point in your life that you're like, man, I gotta do this?
To the negative side of things,
Yeah.
being sent away and not caring, and I got with some young street niggas, where I got sent to out east of Columbus, areas filled with prostitutes and crackheads and things of that nature. So, I got a piece of that life, guns and just, my stepbrother was a part, he had a little gang and they would run the streets and, sell dope and all that. So I got exposed to that lifestyle. I didn't get involved, but I got exposed. Where beforehand, I didn't know nothing about none of that. Because, we lived in a shelter, not a shelter community, but, a middle class community neighborhood. So once I got a part of that, and they didn't want me there, my family didn't want me there, so that started the process of me being alone, and realized didn't nobody care about me.
So, was there obvious reasons that made you feel like nobody cared about you, or that's
Well,
just how you felt because of the lifestyle that you were exposed to?
no, when the shit hit the fan at with my stepfather and my mother and whatnot, afterwards it got rocky, and it's kind of like now that the cat's out the bag, this is what type of time I'm on being him. And he would say things like, if you got what do you say? What happens when you got a barrel of good apples and one rotten apple? You get rid of that rotten apple. So I'm 14 years old, 15 years old, hearing this. And, just the behavior. He got his wife, which is my mother, and they both had 2 kids. So I felt like I was the oddball out. And then once I gave him a legit reason to ship me on out, ship me on out. And now I'm in a whole new household, and they're all teenagers and young adults and whatnot. And it just, yeah, I'm a new guy. So we ain't gonna pay him no attention.
So,
Go ahead.
you said you did 14 years, right? Was consecutive?
Yeah, straight. Actually, it was 13 years and 10 months because it's a good time, and I got some. I did the time instead of having the time did me.
So they didn't give you day for day then?
Uh,
They didn't give you like day for day. They gave you.
they gave me day for day, but staying out. Well, getting my GED and getting my barber's license helped. They gave me days off my sentence for that.
So your lifestyle, right? So you were exposed to some things. You, based on what you're sharing, you kind of kind of got used to a certain lifestyle, and then now you go to prison for attempted murder. What was it? What were like? Take us through that phase of when you were in prison.
Man, on some real stuff. Mine is not having contact with the outside world and things of that nature, man. It was simple for me. Like I'm able to adjust. Doing that 18 months in the workhouse before I caught that other case, it just gave me a familiarity of what I'm dealing with. So it was easy for me, but I was still running into situations, put myself in situations that making my time harder. And I lasted on my first joint for like 2 years and ended up getting kicked out. And I got sent to one of the second worst prisons in Ohio, which is Lucasville. That was a reality check. Because London, where I was at Ross Institutional, that was a playground. We playing ball, we working out, we ain't got nothing to worry about. There's fights. It was no serious situation because it was a medium security camp. But when I got dropped down to a close or max, it got real serious because Lucasville is the place where they had to riot. That's where they life people that are sentenced to death, they go to die there. The gas chamber or whatever, the electric chairs in Lucasville. So it's a lot of death in that area, and that was a wake up call. When I got my security drop, that was the first time I was scared because I really believe that a man who makes his bed is a man that lays in his bed, and I made my bed, therefore I was man enough to lay in it. But this was a different type of bed that I was not mentally prepared because of the past. But I realized that I'm making my time worse, and something has to change. That was really the turning point. Getting sent to Lucasville was the turning point because it was more serious, and if I wasn't careful, I could lose my life. Because I had such situations. I had to learn how to do time, and I didn't because I wasn't familiar with all that real prison time. That was my first and only number. So that was, if I had to figure out when was my wake up point, it was being sent to Lucasville.
Okay, so you went from one place to another. You ended up in Lucasville, and so you earlier during the show you shared with us that you really didn't care, right? So it's not that you wanted to commit suicide, but you just didn't feel like being here, right? So would it be safe to say your value of life was somewhat different?
It was totally different. There was no value. I didn't value my life, and I daggone sure didn't value nobody else's life. I
And
can
so,
remember I spent a lot of time in a hole. And I would use that time in isolation just to think back to my, just think of my memories and pull lessons out of it, or try to ask myself, why was you thinking like that? Where was your state of mind? What was you going through? And I would analyze. So I can remember how I felt back in '96, how I used to just drive, ride on the Coda bus downtown and see everybody living their life, and I'm just miserable, and I just wanted to just take everybody out. Like, that was my mentality. My mentality was really, I didn't give no, GAF about anything. So I wasn't going to take my life. I would prefer to make somebody else take mine. So that's where I came in, like, I'm going to either get rich or I'm going to die trying. Either way it goes, I'm going to be cool with it.
Was it anything that happened or anything that was said, like, or was it just a one day realization, like, oh man, I got to change that? Was it anything that specifically happened or said to you while you're in prison?
This was like, let's see, I got locked up and I caught the case. I got my prison number December of 98. So I would say like 2004, 2003. I was in Lucasville and I worked in a shoe factory, and I tried to sneak some contraband, some coffees, zoom zooms and wham whams and coffees and tobacco. That's our currency in prison. That's their currency. So I tried to sneak 3 bags of coffee through the metal detector and got caught. So when I came back, we had an OG named Zeus from Cleveland, Ohio. And he's the last cell. I was like in the middle. So I tried to slide in and I heard him call my name. And when he speaks, the whole block gets real quiet. It's on that type of time. And he told me, he's like, I went by Flip because I would flip out all the time. He's like, hey, Flip, let me holler at you. So I got to make this long walk, and I already know what it is. And for the first time in my life, he asked me, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? He questioned me. So, and the reason why that was so important is because all my life, if I did something, then nobody talked to me. They just rah, 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 like they do now. They don't talk to humans or talk to kids. They just jump on them and, make them feel bad and not find out what the problem is, not making them think. So when he did that, that made me feel like somebody actually cared about me. And that started changing. And, I started going to school, got my GED, working for that. Once I did that, I made my mom proud. So I'm getting all these different vibes from people who care about me. And, that changed the game to the point where if I did something after I'm all over with, I'm like, I asked myself, what was you thinking? Like, why'd you do that? What was your purpose? I started analyzing my insights. So that moment right there is what started changing the game for me.
I think Jonathan had a question. While he's working on his technicalities. So you mentioned something, they're not doing that to kids. There was a video that I was watching. I think my brothers had shared it with me. It was a young man, and he was going through some things. And I think he was on a live cast, right? And he's walking around with this gun, and he's going back and saying, hey, my son is in here. Somebody needs to come get my son. I'm not going to kill myself, but somebody needs to come get my son. He kept going on, and eventually it turned out for the worse. And then even the young man, I think there was an issue where he ran from the police. He left his gun and his ring on the seat, and he turned around abruptly and was shot. Some unfortunate events, and it seems as if suicide by someone else, it seems to be the vehicle that a lot of people use. So what would you say would be the mental state, or what would be some of the catalysts that get the people to that mind state? Like, what are some things you would say, hey, what we need to do is, what does that look like?
What we need to do is communicate and talk to them. Try something different. Because, like I said, how it is growing up in our community. It can be either physically brutal or mentally brutal. And, for me, we all can only speak from experience. And from my personal experience, I would want somebody to show me that they care. That changes the game. Someone to talk to me, somebody to show me. Like this guy, Deuce, he would give me books. First book he ever gave me was To Be Like Mike. And that's just to have that Michael Jordan mentality of just being the best that you can and working on your craft and working on things that's within you. So, you got to surround a kid. Kids are clutch. And if you don't mold them right, then they're not going to be molded. And what comes with molding is talking to them. understanding them, sitting down, listening to them, and trying to relate with them because we were once there. We were once there, when we were young, and give them. I personally give people what I would need at their age. Put myself in their shoes. So it's caring really changes the whole game. It really changed the whole game for another human being, whether it's young or old.
There was an older guy told me one time, what a father won't do, the streets will. And it's a product of that all over our country on individuals that just don't have a father figure in their life, and the gangs and the people on the street are their father, and so they result to the only thing that they know is to be what the streets are.
It's either, it's
Go
either the
ahead.
streets that can get them, or just being up under their mother, being up under that feminine energy. That's a big problem too. It's just too much feminine energy, and I was like that growing up. I grew up in a household with like 6 women. So I see pictures when I was little, and they dressed me up in bows and did all that goofy ass stuff that women do to young men and whatnot. And when I went to prison, it changed the game because I didn't have no male influences growing up and whatnot. But when I went to prison and started being around a lot of high testosterone men, that shot some stuff into some testosterone in me, and I became overly aggressive, but getting balanced out. And the problem with today's young men, they're around too much feminine energy, and that seeps into them. Just like we raised around nothing but men, we're gonna be overly aggressive. Now, if we raised around nothing but women, we're gonna be a little, you know what I'm saying? A little, yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. We got a question from one of our viewers. The question is, did your childhood experiences affect the way you deal with your children?
It did in the beginning because things are passed from generation to generation. This such as discipline. Discipline is passed from generation to generation. And there's a difference between getting whoopings and beatings. We probably, all of us, had got beatings where, the government came in and was like, yo, we can't be doing that. Now it's a crime to beat your child, whatnot. But when I came home, I was aggressive. I was extremely aggressive. I still had that prison mindset that wasn't on 100, but it was on a lower level because, I started growing up. Each year I got better controlling my mental. So when I came home, one child, they're different now. I'm going from 96 and 98 all the way to 2013, 2014. So the mentality is totally different with these young people. So when they come at me with the bro, your own kid calling you bro, just the disrespect.
You don't push their face in. That's a problem.
Yeah. I've been called a cum. What you gonna do when your child call you a cum donut?
Yeah,
Like,
I'm gonna push their
I
face
kind
in.
of flipped out. So I use that old mentality of just going in on the physical side, and that wasn't the way. That definitely wasn't the way. And once I got older and I started seeing things, as my release and all that new testosterone died down, and I started getting control of my emotions and thinking more, I come with another direct approach, and that's talking to my kids. I talk to them instead of getting all physical. Because when I first came home, I told my boys, like, if we ever get into it, yeah, I expect you to fight back. Don't just take, if somebody put your hands on, if I put my hands on you, I expect you to fight back. So I came with that. And now I'm to a point where we sit and we talk. Let me talk to you man to man. And if we can't talk, because a lot of them be emotional, I end the conversation. So I learned other ways to handle my kids without getting physical.
Yeah.
Great. I think Jonathan was next. He had a question. Are you on, John? He's still muted. See if there's a mute button while he's
turn your
checking
volume up, Jonathan. Check your volume on your mic. See if your mic's low. You said you had one son that knew the street life there, and I don't know if it's one of your older sons or whatever. Like, what kind of advice or what do you tell him to stop him from the same steps that you took?
My biggest problem coming into my kids' life was the expectation. I expect them to carry themselves in a certain manner. And I realized the hard way that expectations only lead to disappointment. My kids, my oldest son, who we talked about, he's 30 years old. These young people, man, they're when they got their mind made up, they got their mind made up on how they want to do. You can talk to them, but and they can feel you at that moment. But when it's all said and done, they're gonna go do what they're gonna do, no matter what. So all I do is I don't encourage him. Try my best not to encourage him. I can't take him out the streets. He's just been, he love the streets. He love the streets, and nothing has happened to him that will wake him up. He's had some close calls, but sometimes a hard head make a soft butt, and he ain't been. He's a hard head one, and when I'm around him, he tries that street stuff. I make sure don't bring that around me. Don't bring that around me. Come correct. So I don't try to. I try to dictate, control my kids, and push them in a certain direction, but it don't always work that way. They got to want it for themselves. So all I can do, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, especially when it's a young horse.
Do you think it's something that's generational? Because we see it across the nation. And I wouldn't say just millennials, but a lot of young men. And I said this on a radio cast that I was on with somebody else. I say right now between the ages of 18 to 32, that are young men out there that are living their lives as if they say that life is short mentality. And the crazy thing is, in my opinion, life is the longest thing we'll ever know, because once we die, we ain't gonna know nothing else. So do you think it's like a generation of, and if it is, who birthed that generation?
I'm gonna go. I did my research on my family, and my grandfather Luther Sadler, he was a Rolling Stone. So the rest of that. Papa was a Rolling Stone, and he went to prison. Make a long story short, I can name about 14 Sadlers that's been in the system, and that's not a coincidence.
Wow.
That's just facts.
Right.
We got two right now doing a life sentence for murder. One been in prison since the late 80s. One been in since the early 2000s. Uncles, grandfather. My grandfather once wrote his name in Lebanon, Ohio, and his son saw it. He spoke about that, in his, one of his, he spoke about that, how he saw that his father wrote his name. So it's definitely generational. But for generational curses, I call it generational curse. Oh, my elders don't like that. They're real sensitive about real stuff, and I call a spade a spade. But I noticed that it dropped off with my kids. My second son, who's 28, he's never had a record. My third son, who's 25, he's never had a record. We got nephews, I got cousins. They've never had a record. So their elders, from grandpa to 3 uncles, 3 cousins, 5 little cousins, it's a long line. So I would say for me, I can only speak for what I know, but the proof's in the pudding that it is generational. We haven't, it can go both ways. We don't know where it came from, because, we have babies with people that we don't know nothing about. People don't take the time to realize who you're dealing with or who you're laying with before you have this child. So they can have things that's going on in their family or their bloodline, and you can have things, and when it combined, it can be really detrimental to that child that's being created by 2 human beings who have no idea what's going on in their background. One might have a history of schizophrenia, or some type of mental disease or whatever the case may be, or a line of killers. So that stuff gets passed down. We have our ancestors in us. I feel like I'm a rebel by spirit because my great ancestors were rebellious. They were probably slave runners, and they probably got hung and all that stuff. So that stuff gets passed down, if you ask me.
So I would, in my opinion, I think that's a learned behavior. I think, and that's just my opinion. I see what you mean by I know it's when I meant generation, I meant like, aside from your family, we see an age of gentlemen that are living their lifestyle like they're in a video game. Like everything is GTA. They're okay with robbing cars. They're okay with sticking up people. They're okay with cursing out elders. Um, they're okay with going at it with the cops. Um, and so I see particularly there's a generation of men, especially black men, and now it's rolling over into not just ethnicity but just culture from the inner city and more impoverished areas that they just don't care. You know, you said that your lifestyle had you to the point where you just didn't want to be here no more. You weren't going to do anything, but you were going to do something that would probably end up into your demise. And we see that a lot. Like I'm sure if you just watch one video on YouTube, you'll see their lifestyle. We want to go to Jonathan and see if he is up yet.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You're low, but we can hear you.
All right, hold on. Let me turn it up. Can you hear me better?
Yeah, Aaliyah, we hear you.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, I wanted to ask and see your perspective because we talked a little about fathers. So what is your perspective as far as a father in the house or a father figure? A father figure around the neighborhood or stepdad, some kind of father presence, because it seemed like it started when you were growing up, when you found out that, your dad wasn't your dad, but also you felt a different way when the guy in prison had called you up, so it seemed like even in prison, there's a father presence. So I just wanted to get your perspective on the importance of dads being in the house.
I always say, I got a thing about Father's Day. Anybody can celebrate Father's Day if a man had a child, he's a father. But it takes a lot of work and effort to earn that title of dad. There's a big difference between a father and a dad. I can tell there can be two men, and I can tell you like this is my dad, but that's my father, and you'll understand what I'm saying. This man, he raised me and put morals and this, that, and other. But anyways, just because you got a male in the house doesn't mean you got a man in the house. You feel what I'm saying? And that right there is important because that's the reason why we as a village are where we at, because certain individuals decide to take the man out the house. You take the man out the house, that leaves the woman to run things. And that's not really her position as far as when it comes to being a disciplinary and being that force, that force that a man can be. So, I learn from the best teachers can be life in others. So I learned from this individual what not to do, because there's a process that gets passed from generation to generation. Back in the day, our elder men, they would like bring home the check, and I witnessed that they don't help out with the household. They didn't cook. I'm talking about my grandfather and my his son, my stepfather, and my father. The men that I've been around, I've always witnessed the women doing everything, and that's just how things work. And they didn't engage into the kids' activities for real, didn't do homework, things of that nature. So what I've done is, I always put myself in the same situation of a kid. I decided to help. I was married at one time, so I decided to help my wife. Do laundry. She do laundry. She wash, I'll fold. She cook, I'll clean. I'm doing things that I've never seen that man in the house do. So, it's in not just that, me doing that because I feel like it's right, but I got my stepdaughter and my daughter seeing this. So we lead by examples, for good and bad. We lead with what not to do, and we lead with how to do things. So it was very important for me to be able to show my kids and whatnot, including my older ones. When they're over, I show them how it's done. My oldest son, I would see him sit while the mom is just doing, he got 5 kids with him in the house, and she's just doing everything. And I would tell him, like, man, that ain't how it's supposed to be, man. I want you to go help him out. Put the game down and help him out. But, you can't tell these knuckleheads everything. So, I just leave it be. But it's very important because it sets the stage. It gives others an example on how to carry yourself, and also give people an example of how not to carry yourself. If you see a woman walking in with groceries, you ain't supposed to just sit there. You're supposed to stop what you're doing and go help her out. And not only is you're doing the right thing, but others who's seeing that, kids around, they're seeing that. So I'll lead by example.
So I had another quick question also. Okay, you get out of prison, and I don't know your journey. Did you feel led that I need to speak to the younger generation? And if so, how do you, because there's a lot of men that's out here, they want to get out here and they want to help. But I see a lot of the young men, they compare themselves to the older generation by money, um, and not so much about experience. So you get out of prison, and possibly this is just a scenario. You have a young man, you're trying to talk to him because you can see the direction that he's going in because you've been there, but he doesn't want to hear it. How do we handle that? How do we get the message to the youth nowadays?
I hit young people because I'm a barber and I deal with a lot of young, and I focus on the youth. I hit anytime I want to talk to a young person, I hit them with the hear me now but feel me later. You know, it's a now later. Hear me now but feel me later. And then I go in deep with it to get their attention. And I say that to say that you're not mentally prepared to feel what I'm saying, but later down the line, like every other human being, it's going to hit you. And you're going to be like, because we all been in that situation. We're like, now I get what my auntie or uncle Jay was saying, or my dad was saying after our minds develop. Because one time I was 23 years old and I was complaining to my mother's twin. And she was like, people in glass houses shouldn't cast stones. I didn't hear it. I didn't understand what she was saying. Like, it threw me off. But as I got older, I put it together. And it's like, say I live in a glass house and I'm throwing stones, saying that you don't take care of your kids, you a thief, you a liar. I'm throwing, different types of stones. You can pick those back up and throw it at me, saying, you cheat on your wife, you've been in prison for rape and blah, blah, blah. So I didn't understand at the age of 23 until my mind got older. So when I hit them with that, I see them perk up. Like you can tell, like you said, you can tell when a person's energy, or you can see them going in the wrong direction. And I say things that they need to hear. Like, for example, I had an older cat, and somebody owed him money, and he calling him up and he ain't answering, so he mad. He big mad. Like, he come from where I come from. He wanna do some physical harm because he feel disrespected. Now, normally a person is in their feelings, people gonna be like, yeah, they gonna root him on. Like, yeah, man, let's, you know what I'm saying, when you want to get him. That's the mess, you know what I'm saying? But I came at another direction. I'm like, hear me now, but feel me later. Because you being emotional right now, and you ain't really gonna be able to feel what I'm about to say. So when I said and then he perked up, like, they always perked up when I hear him like that, because I'm saying, like, you too emotional, and men don't like being told that they're being too emotional. So I hit them with that, and when I hit them with that, they perk up, and then I get their mind are opened up, their emotions are dropped down, and they'll receive what I'm saying in an intelligent way. So I find a way to get up under their pride and attack them that way, and it normally works.
So while you were in prison, and like I said, the light bulb clicked off, and like, man, I got to make that change. Like, I heard you say you got your GED, and you say you worked on a couple of different licenses there. Like, what else did you do in prison to, once you decided to do that change? What steps did you take to make those changes?
I did self-therapy first. Like, it starts within you. I felt like I had time. The problem with people today, they don't have time to get them some me time and analyze what's going on. You got 24 hours. 24 hours divided by 3 is 8. You're supposed to work 9 to 5. That's 8. You're supposed to get 6 hours of sleep. That's 8. I mean, not 6 hours, but you're supposed to get 8 hours of sleep, but we normally get 6. So the rest
work and refreshment.
Right. So you got 10 hours to live your life day in and day out. And you don't have time for that. You really don't have time for that. So, but me personally, I use that time to sit back and analyze. If I got in a situation, because I was always going in the hole for either fights or disobeying a direct order, or disrespecting the MA or a CO, a corrections officer. So I would do anywhere from 6 weeks to 8 months. And I would look into that and, just figure myself out and try to get some self-understanding. And once I got that, and I would get out, I would take in classes like critical thinking. That was a very important class. I learned I over E. That's intelligence over emotion, which most humans use E over I, emotions over intelligence. Just think about a situation where you allow your intelligence to dictate what the hell is going on, what you done did. And then once you all done what happened, and later on that night, you're intelligent, use your emotions to do what you did, got you in the situation. When it's all over with, you sit back and your intelligence kick in and start asking yourself, like, why'd you do that? You know you ain't have to do that. Because we all got that voice of reason that'll get on us about something we did. We cheat on our girl. We go out and cheat. On the way there, we all emotional. Can't wait. We doing 105 just to get there, right? But on the way back, you gonna hear that voice, like, man, you know you wrong. You about to go from one girl back to your man. You know you wrong. So that is intellectual part of that. So I would use, I'd use that method, I over E, as much as possible. And then I went to some meditation classes and learned how to do yoga. I got yoga. That's very comforting. Whatever tools that they had, I stopped allowing the time to do me, and I start doing the time. So I started taking advantage of the little tools that they had to give us.
That's what's up, man. So first of all, I think it goes without saying that you're headed in the right direction, right? And it's good to see that someone so close to what could have been life's end make a 180 and start heading in the right direction. One of the questions that was asked was, you helping out younger gentlemen. Do you see yourself building a program or using some of your other resources or just your knowledge?
I would love to. I would love to. I had an opportunity to work for the States, working with kids who just needed that male figure, that elder. I consider myself an elder. It takes a village. If you look at movies and things like that, any movie that has something to do with a tribe, there's a process, and the elders are the wise older ones, and the villagers come to them with their problems, and they give them what they need mentally, guidance and knowledge and things, solutions. So, that's my role. And, I decided to get involved with it, but, my past came back and haunt me, and I couldn't get it because it's a city job, and I had a felon, and it happened to be something that I didn't do. So, if someone was to give me a chance, I would love to go deep into it. I would love to have the opportunity because, I've been where a lot of these little young men are. They're hurt and they feel alone and they feel like nobody cares. And it's just, the mothers are single mothers. They don't have no male influences because, most kids like that, they're aggressive. They become aggressive. So most of the mothers are passive. So if you got a passive against an aggressive, the aggressive is going to take advantage of it. And if the lifestyle that they live in and their surroundings is aggressive, like you said, you learn from example. You're being taught that as human beings, we're followers. We're natural followers. So it's all about what we follow. And if a person ain't got nothing positive to follow, they're gonna follow something that's negative. So I would love to be a part of someone, mentoring programs. I got my little young kids. Like I got probably about 8 young 8-year-olds. They all either 8 or 9, and I have them spend a night, and we'll go to Spider-Man, Spider-Man movies. I got a Spider-Man suit. I dress up in that, and I relate to them. And when their mothers have a problem with them, because a lot of them don't have a father in their life, or a dad, let alone, they ask me to talk to them, and I build up that reputation with them and that relationship where I can tell a 14-year-old to pull your pants up because men don't rock like that. And the mother can hit me back thanking me for that. I can talk a 18-year-old into going back to school to get his diploma. I can, tell a person that, you don't talk to your mom like that. If I see a kid getting out, even if I don't know him, if I see a kid, and that's how I used to be back in the day, where you acting up down the street and Miss Yancey that saw you, Miss Yancey gonna get in your butt and she gonna tell your mom. That's how it was. So that's how I am. If I see something, I'm gonna say something like, you wrong for talking to your mother like that. Your mother keep you fresh. I'll break them down. Your mother take good care of you. There's kids out here that ain't got what you got, and I make them feel this big about disrespecting your mother or playing your mother who care about you. So I believe that it takes a village, and I have skills that would, I relate with young. I don't deal with too many of my people my age because I'm 48. I don't, because they stuck in their ways. So I focus on I think you got a better better chance of reaching the young in the future than you do. Because sometimes you can't teach old dogs, new tricks.
I beg to differ, because you are an old dog.
Sometimes, keyword, sometimes you can't.
Right.
Not
It's
all the
just the
time.
bending of the
Sometimes.
tree. You know, the tree will grow in the way of the bend, and if you want to bend
Exactly.
it back, it takes that same amount of energy to put it back to where it is.
Exactly.
So
You
it's
can
the
plant the
bend of the
seed,
tree.
but you can't make the seed grow.
Right. Um, so I think you already have your organization, and we're going to be probably wrapping up here shortly. You said that there were just some obstacles in front of you to get the state job. I would say, I mean, you already came up with the name. I don't know if you heard it or not. You said it a couple of times, and I think it's an opportunity for you to go ahead and start that 503c for your nonprofit entitled I over E. Um, so
I
I'm
like it.
willing to, I see your passion for it and I see your zeal in it. Um, I'll be willing if you ever, create a cash app or whatever to assist in, helping you get that off its feet. And maybe in the future you can come down to Texas and work with my brother Ike and get some because he liked to do for the community. He's big on
We
it. And
love
then
it.
me and my brother also live up here in Dallas, so we'll love to have you. But before we start wrapping up, I think Isaac had another question and Jonathan was going to serve next.
Oh, Jonathan, did you have yours? I was just gonna do my final question there. You had something else, Jonathan?
No. You good? Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I mean the final thing there, man. And I mean just listen to your story, like you say, man, from hard times, like especially in this age, and I think we've done it too, man. But we always we look up to the bad guy. We see everybody's favorite movie was Scarface, and we see him go out.
I was just about to say hello to the bad guy.
Yeah. Everybody look up to that, but that's not really, that's not something we should be looking up to. I mean, what we should be looking at are the redemption stories, the stories like you have, and I'm pretty sure there's more other guys with the same story, like, hey, I was on the wrong path, but I had a turning point. So just hearing that, man, it really inspires me, man. I'm hoping it inspires the audience and a lot of the youth that we have around here, man, because a lot of the young people, like we was talking before the show, man, a lot of young people in the Beaumont area are going down the wrong path. They just don't know. They just don't understand, like you're saying, they don't understand where their future is leading if they don't find that change. So my last question for you here, my last let's see, Miss Carolyn there. She said, "You're a wise man. We're glad to hear from you." And she said earlier too, man. She said, "You're truly blessed to be alive, man." So good on you. And then she say, "Come back and chat." So we will have to get you back on again, man. This was very very good conversation here. For the young kid that look like you, the young Jor-El that's on the street right now, that's you know getting ready to make that bad decision or or about to do that one thing that gets him time there. What you tell that kid?
You better than this. You better than this. Jail, prison is for the birds. You're being told what to do. You already been in a household being told what to do, living under your mother's house. Now you gotta put yourself in a situation where you're gonna be told what to do for a substantial amount of time. I feel like, they have to learn to love themselves and realize that they are better than that. They are better than that. There's more than life follow. Don't be a follower. That's the problem. Don't be a follower. Be a leader. If everybody going that way, because that's everybody keep going the same way as everybody going. You got to go the opposite way. You got to look at yourself and value your life and just really love yourself because you're better than this. You're playing a game. You're playing their game and you're losing at it. And that's what they want. So you're helping them with a situation because there's a whole system that's evolved to keep us where we're at. And the whole goal is to beat the system. I'm an example. I beat the system. I ain't go back and I'm not going back. So with that being said, life is a game. You got to be competitive in it and you can't lose. And by doing what you ain't supposed to be doing, you're going to lose. They got a place for those and it's a sideline. You get taken out the game. Think about playing basketball or football or any type of sports. When you violate the rules, they'll pull you out on the sideline for however long. It could be the whole game, a whole quarter, whatever the case. But when you get back in the game, you supposed to, you know what I'm saying? Don't hit that sideline because you know if you keep doing wrong, you're gonna get taken out of the game. And they're taking themselves out of the game by doing too much and trying to impress others. The kid boys, they robbing cars, they stealing cars, and they on Instagram and all this stuff for clout. It's all about following. You got to go against the grain because everybody that goes with the grain is going downhill. They ain't going nowhere. You got to go against the grain. You got to want better. And once you want better, once you realize that you want better, that's how you know you really love yourself. So I would tell them that you better than this. You're helping them. They get $35,000 plus a year for each inmate, and that whole system is designed to keep their pockets, their generational wealth growing and growing and growing, and you're contributing. So wake up and realize that you're better than this, way better. So that's what I would tell anybody going down that path, that you got to love yourself. And if you go down that path and keep doing that, you really don't love yourself.
Man, that's what's up, man. I was gonna leave a final word, man, but I think we ought to just close on that, man. Yeah. Man, that was fine. Man, Jor-El, one last thing there, man. If anybody want to follow you or if they want to find you there, how do they do that, man?
Come on, I just started with this. I just started and I'm in the crawling process, but I can be found on Facebook, Jor-El, Jor-El Lamar, and Instagram, one word, Jorel Baby June. So that's Instagram. That's just a way of getting to know who I am. My podcast and all that stuff will be set up later on, and hopefully by the time I come back on here, I'll have a little more information on how to get in contact with me.
That's dope, man. We'd be looking forward for that podcast, man. And surely we get you back on there, man. We help promote you and get you out there, man. Again, man. Thank you so much for joining us today, man. Salute, man. Hey, and everybody who joined us tonight on this episode, man. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure again that you hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and we will see you next time here on the 3200.
Can I say one more thing?
Oh, go ahead, bro.
I just want to tell everybody, spread positive energy. Tell a kid you're proud of them. Someone you know you're proud of them. Tell them you love them. Give somebody a hug. That changes the game. That stirs up positive energy all up in us. And, be safe. Do a good deed. And just try to do something different. And, God bless Black America.
That's what's up, man. I'm gonna call my brother Leo and tell him I love him right now.
All right.
Hey, I just to follow that up. I mean, it's just like Mr. Jor-El been saying all night. I mean, think about it, young men. Your favorite rappers, your favorites. Where are they at? They either locked up or in their grave. Change your mindset. Stay positive.
That's what's up. You heard it here. We'll see you next time.
3200, but you already know this. Couple of brothers hard working and focused. Let's go. Intellectual, entertaining for show. 3200, let's go.